Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class on business statistics, where we are discussing test of hypothesis. So now we'll discuss, or the better word would be, we'll revise the problem of chi-square statistics. Already in my previous classes, I have discussed chi-square problems, and I think you should be in position by this time that you can solve the chi-square problem very easily. So you can see this question which came in 2016 question paper. Always chi-square problems come for 5 marks. So here two set of data is given here, where you can see horizontal axis. It is showing you the votes for. So they are talking about two-person, A or B. Maybe that it's like uh, kind of election what happens in US and all, where you have only two parties, Democratic and Republic, or in UK where you have Conservative and Labour. So here maybe two parties are fighting for election, A and B, and two areas are given, rural and urban. So if level of significance is not given, we'll take that as a 5%. Always remember. So two set of areas given, and two set of people are there, two set of political parties there, A and B. So now the set of data is given with respect to the given scenario, and based on this, you need to solve this, and you need to find what you need to find, that whether the nature of area is related to the voting preference in the election or not. So already we have done lot of problems like this. So what you'll do, you'll write null hypothesis. In null hypothesis, when you write in null hypothesis, when you write in null hypothesis, you'll make them equal. You say that there is no significant relation, or the voting preference in the election and the nature of area are independent of each other. You can understand the two variable. One is the nature of area, another one is voting preference in election. So you can say that they're independent to each other. So uh, voting preference in election, preference voting preference in election, voting preference in election, and the nature of area and the voting area, voting preference in the election, and voting preference election, nature of area for where the people are, nature of area means like they are rural or urban, so are independent of each other. They are independent of each other. So in chi-square statistics, when you write null hypothesis, so you make them equal. So the two variables, whatever is given, you make them equal, and then you will write alternative hypothesis. Then you write alternative hypothesis. Right? Alternative hypothesis will say that yeah, they are not equal. There is a relation between them. So you say that the voting preference of people in the election. You can use your own English word also. The voting preference of people in the election, of people in the election, voting preference of people in the election is dependent on dependent on the nature of area, dependent on the nature of area they belongs to. Like this, you can write it. What they belongs to. That will be alternative hypothesis. You can formulate your own sentences. You don't have to believe on the sentence what is given. I hope you understand. Whenever you get the question on chi-square or ANOVA or Z or T, by reading the question, you need to understand the situation. Here, the two situations given, that people from two different set of society, either they're rural or they're urban, and they went for election, and they have given vote to A, or they have given vote to B, and the data is given for that. So in chi-square, when we do null hypothesis, we say that both are equal, they are independent of each other, while in alternative hypothesis, we say no, they are not, they are not equal, or they are not independent. Equal is not the better word, they are not independent, while there is some relation between them. So this is what you have to do. Then I can define P1, P2, P3, P1, P4. What is P1? P1 is the proportion of rural people, anything, the proportion of rural people who voted for A, you can write, then P2 means rural people, proportion of rural people who voted for B, voted for B. Then you can write proportion of, urban people, proportion of urban area people, anything, you know how to formulate a statement, proportion of urban area people who voted, who voted for A, and you can write P4 as the proportion of urban area people, proportion of urban area people who voted for B, who voted for B. So like this, you can write P1, P2, P3, P4. Then the other way to express null hypothesis is H naught. In H naught, you write P1 equal to P3 equal to P4. In H1, alternative hypothesis, you say at least two of them are not equal. At least two of them them are not. This will be your alternative hypothesis. Once you are done with this, now I'll do the calculation. Then I'll talk about the calculation of chi-square statistic. After the very simple calculation of chi-square statistic, and we will do this very simple. We write the data what was given as f naught observed frequency. The data what was given as f naught 620 620, 380, then 620, 380, then 550, 450, 550, 450 as observed frequency. Then we find expected frequency. Expected frequency, how we get. So we simply use a formula into column total divided by the total value. So the total 1000 into 1170 divided by 2000. 1000 into 1170 divided by 2000. Then for 380 we do the same thing. 1000 into 1000 into 830 divided by 2000. Then 5500 550 is 1000 into 1170 by 2000. And then 450 is 830 into 1000 divided by 2000. So with this, I'll get the expected frequency. So my expected frequency, so this is 5117 585. So this is 450. This is 585. And this is 450. So I'll get this as my expected frequencies. Let me know if there's any calculation mistake. So I'll get my expected frequency. So the formula for the expected frequency is row total into column total divided by total value. So once you get the observed frequency, you get the expected frequency. You can find f naught minus fe. So 620 minus 585, 15 plus 20 means 35. This is 380. This is what 20 plus 15 means 35 minus 35. Then uh, this is check this any carefully 560 25. Then this is what 8 minus 5 is what 3, right? So this is minus 35. So 550 minus 585, and then 450 minus 415 you will get 35. Let me know if there's any calculation mistake. So you get f naught minus fc. Then what you have to do? You have to do f naught minus fc whole square. Do that you get 1 2 2 5 1 2 2 5 1 2 2 5 and 1 2 2 5. So you get f naught minus fe square. Once you get f naught minus fe square, f naught minus fe square divided by fe. So 1225 divided by 585. 1225 divided by 585. 1225 divided by 1225 divided by 450. 1225 divided by 585. 122 divided by 450. This, so solve this. 1225 divided by 5 divided by 585. Do that calculation. So 1225 divide by 585, you'll get 2.094. 2.094, you'll get 2.094. 1225, 1225, 1225, 1225 divide by 450. That is 2.9518. 2.9518. 9518. The sum of the sum of f naught minus fu square divided by fu. Do this value. You'll get 10.091. Do the total sum 10.091. You'll get this. So you'll get the value 10.091. So you get the value 10.091. So you do this calculation. You get 10.091. So calculation of chi-square statistics. So the sum of f naught minus fe whole square divided by fe. So you get 10.091. Once you get this value, compare this value with the threshold chi-square value. So compare this value with the threshold chi-square value. Compare this value with the threshold chi-square value. So compare this value with threshold uh, chi-square value. Once you compare this value with threshold chi-square value, then for that, what degree of freedom we use? Degree of freedom is number of row minus 1 into number of column minus 1. So row minus 1. Row, you can see here two rows are there, two columns is there. So degree of freedom will be 2 minus 1 into 2 minus 1 will get 1. And since level of significance is not given, you can take level of significance as 5%. So whenever level of significance is not given, take at 5%. So at level of significance 5%, degree of freedom 1, find the threshold chi-square value. For that, ask for table from your examiner, ask for chi-square table, chi-square table, distribution table. You ask from your examiner, examiner will give you chi-square distribution table. Open that table and check for the degree of freedom 5 at level of significance 5%. Degree of freedom 1 for level of significance 5%. 0.05, that 5% is 0.05 and degree of freedom 1, the threshold value is 3.84. I think you can easily understand. It's visible. So threshold price per value is 3.84. Threshold, threshold price per value, threshold price per value is 3.84. And the calculated chi-square value you get was 10.091. So since the calculated chi-square value is more than the threshold value. So you will reject the null hypothesis. If you are rejecting the null hypothesis means what? Rejecting the null hypothesis. Rejecting the null hypothesis means the voting preference of the people in the election depend upon the nature of the area they belong to. Very simple. So if you see question paper, your question paper, I have done all problems of chi-square. You can see that if you see your question paper, you see your question paper. So this problem already we did on the first class. Okay, so it's only 5 marks question comes, and that too so easy. So you should start solving this question only in the first. Okay, so nothing can be more easier than that. So you saw that question. You have this question. Question number three we did already in 2000, which year 2019 we did already. Then again in 2019 we have one more paper. So this question, question number five also I did. So we have done. So always 5 mark question comes. Then you can see 2016 paper. Then if you see 2016 paper, in 2016 paper, chi-square question, this you can see this is the problem what we are doing, right? This is the problem what we did just now. We did. So now if you observe more or less all the question which comes will be very basic nature. So all questions what we did you can see this now. Question already we did in the beginning only. Again, if the total is not given, you can do the total. You can you can do the total. You know how to do the total. With the data, you can do the total and you can solve it. If level of significance is not given, you take at 5%. This question number one, what we did, which came in 2019, is very similar to this question number seven. Okay, so here same way you have to do. In null hypothesis, we will say that that giving drug means same with medicine. So don't and drug in some other term. Drug here is medicine. So giving drug and getting diseases of each other. So you have to find whether the new drug discovered for preventing the poultry disease successful or not. So in null hypothesis, I'll write that that administering drug and getting disease are independent of each other. It means that uh, uh, giving the medicine against the poultry disease is not successful. That is null hypothesis. An alternative hypothesis, you write that that administering drug and getting disease is dependent on each other. So it means that if you give drugs, if you give medicine or you give vaccination, then probably the disease can be prevented. That you write in alternative hypothesis, and then you do of the chi-square statistics where the data is 175 or 810, 215, 620. You write as observed frequency and expected frequency. You do the total of row into column divided by total. That you will get as expected frequency, and then you can apply the formula of calculation of chi-square statistics. The formula of chi-square statistics, you can draw this, make a table like this, and you can solve it. Whatever the value you get, you compare that value with your threshold value. So the threshold value here, the degree of freedom is, is one only. You get one only here also, and and the level of significance is 5%. So the threshold value would be 3.84 only. And if your calculated value is less than 3.84, it means that giving this medicine against this poultry disease is not at all successful. You better stop this program of giving drugs against the disease. While if you get a value, calculated value more than 3.84, it means that it means that this medicinal program what we are running for against the poultry disease will make some sense. So this is all you have to do. Again, 5 marks question. Again, very simple. I think you'll agree with me. So the test of hypothesis problem, if you see and all, it is very easy. Again, this question number 2019, same problem came in 2019. Maybe the data will be different. Again, similar question. You can see question number 4. So I think you can do test of hypothesis chi-square problem very easily. I don't think anyone will have any doubt with respect to this. So anyone, any question with respect to chi-square statistics? Are you clear with this part? Anyone, any doubt? Please message here. Any question do you have? So in null hypothesis, whatever the two variables are given, you write them as an independent. In alternative hypothesis, you say no, they are not independent. Clear everyone? Anyone, any doubt? Please ask. Guys, please speak. Any kind of doubt, anyone? What about others? Anyone, any doubt? So whenever we talk about test of hypothesis, in the case of test of hypothesis, there is a statement which is being passed about a population parameter. Okay, what is population parameter? Parameter means the terms of population. The mathematical terms of population, they can be mean, median, mode, standard deviation, anything. They can be any term of the population. There is a statement which is passed with respect to population. So we all speak lot of statement. So but the which is being passed maybe by government of India, maybe that statement which is passed by maybe some higher authority will make some sense. We either accept, we either consider it or we do not consider it. Maybe if that statement is made by anyone else in Padma Shri College, so maybe you maybe accept or maybe not. But if the statement is passed by Reddy sir, so definitely we'll consider that statement. So this statement right now, the lot of rumor, myth, or the medicinal logic is given against the corona vaccine, against the corona disease. So the different bodies, different doctors, different magazines are coming with lot of analysis where they are giving you the different ways through which this corona can be treated. It may be true, it may not be true. So that is what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement which we passed about a population. So what we need to do here in test hypothesis, we need to validate the statement which is being passed is either true or false. So in null hypothesis, whatever is given, we'll consider that to be equal. So null hypothesis, whatever is given, we'll consider that as a equal, that is truth. So null hypothesis means whatever is the statement given about the population parameter, we'll consider that statement to be true. So that is our null hypothesis. The statement whatever is given, we consider that as true. Then what we do, we write an alternative hypothesis. So when we write alternative hypothesis, in alternative hypothesis, we say that our statement, our statement may not be true, may not be true. So we never say with 100%. Please understand. So please understand, in alternative hypothesis, it is we say that it may not be true. So it may not be true. We say it may not be true. It may be true. So we never say with 100% what you say confidence level that it is true. It may be true, it may not be true. I hope you're understanding. So for proving that it is true or it is not true, whatever the statement is given. So in order to prove that is true or not, what we do now, we need to perform a research. Now what we do, perform a research, will perform a research, we perform a research to validate the validate the the what you say the validate the statement null hypothesis. So we'll perform research to validate the null hypothesis, that is it true or not. So in order to validate the null hypothesis, it is true or not. For this, what we do, we take data. For this, what you need to do, because we are studying statistics. Because we are studying statistics, it need to be done with data. Without data, do any research. Statistics is all about quantitative form of research. So what do? We collect data to perform the research. We do collect the data. Statistics is all about collection of data. So we collect the data and we believe to collect quantitative data here, will not go and run behind qualitative data. If we get a qualitative data, we make sure to convert it into quantitative data. Then only we can perform a research. So then to validate that the null hypothesis what is given is true or not, we collect the data and we do research on the data. So that is what we are trying to do. So the research on a data is called a sample statistics. So we perform sample statistics. We perform sample statistics. So the what we given for the population, that was called as population parameter. To prove whatever is given in population parameter, we perform a research, and that research what we are trying to perform, that research is called a sample statistics. Okay, so we collect the data first, okay, and then we perform a test on that. So whenever you do alternative hypothesis, so in alternative hypothesis, uh, whenever you are doing, so like I'll give you an example. So like suppose so you can see this. Suppose you are doing a test. Okay, some statement is being passed by some company. Maybe there's a company called Hilton Press. It says that average life of its largest web press is 14,500 hours. So in null hypothesis, I say that is average life is 14,500 hours. Okay, so this I'll write in the null hypothesis. Then I'll write alternative hypothesis. So when I have to write alternative hypothesis here, so then I can write three things. Then I can write three things. Either I can write it average life is not equal to 14,500 hours, or I can write his average life is more than 14,500 hours, or I can say it average life is less than 14,500 hours. I think you can understand what I'm telling you. So in null hypo, whatever is given, we say that it is correct in null hypothesis. So here there's a company called Hilton Press. It is telling that the average life of its largest web press is 14,500 hours. So we say, yeah, whatever is given is true. So that we write in null hypothesis. Then what we do in alternative hypothesis, we say it either it is not equal to 14,500 hour, or it may be more than 14,500 hour, or it may be less than 14,500 hour. Can you understand this? Anyone have any doubt? So can you understand this? So there's a company called Hilton Press. It says that the average life of its largest web press is 14,500 hours. So in null hypothesis, whatever is given, I'll consider this as 2. I'll say okay, fine. So in null hypothesis, I say that the average life of the web traces are 14,500 hours. Then I'll write alternative hypothesis. So in alternative hypothesis, whenever you do research, your research can be done with different objectives. It can be done to prove then the question will end with something. They will ask you that this is the, if you see this the question will end with something. So you need to read the last line very carefully, what the question is ending with. Sometimes the question will end with like where you need to just prove that is not equal. Here you can, where sometimes you can see that they are saying that you just need to prove that they are not equal. So you are not interested with greater than or more than, but sometimes they expect you to do research greater than or more than. You can see here question number 1, should the company conclude that the average life of the press is less than the hypothesized 14,500 hours. I hope you understand. So the Hilton Press is saying that the average life of the web presses, what the Hilton Press is making, what the Hilton Press is having is 14,500 hours. Okay, so now you need to prove this. The statement what is given is correct or not correct. So whenever you are trying to prove this, then three possibilities you can write in alternative hypothesis. One possibility you can write that it is not equal. Second possibility you can write it is more than what is given, or it can be alternative you can write it is less than. So always you write what is given. So here you have to do research where you need to prove that, you have to prove or disprove that this life what is given is less than or not. So always remember, if you do the test of hypothesis are not equal, then this is called as two-tailed test. This is called as two-tailed test. Okay, and when you do more than or less than, then it is called as one-tailed test. If you are doing a test where you need to prove or disprove as more than or less than, then it is called as one-tailed test. So always whenever we do test of hypothesis, whenever we work on test of hypothesis, whenever we do test of hypothesis, it is either one tail test. Whenever we do test of hypothesis, it is either one tail test or either it is two tail test. Okay, so it is either one tail test or it is either two tail test. Two tail test means when you draw normal distribution curve, you'll put two level of significance. So on the two side, you put the level of significance, boundary level. Rejection region, you put in two places, both on left and both on right. So both would be your rejection region. In both the places, you put rejection region. Okay. So imagine your alpha. Imagine your alpha is 1%. So imagine your alpha is 1%. You have to do this test at level of significance at 1. So here this will be alpha by 2. Here this will be alpha by 2. This where this place your rejection region will be 0.005, and here also it will be 0.005. So this will be 0.495 acceptance region. 0.495. I hope you remember. I told you in past also when we are talking about normal distribution curve that the total area is of a normal distribution curve is 1. Total area of a normal distribution curve is 1, where 50% is left hand side, 50% is right hand side. And whenever you do one tail test, either you do more than or either you do less than. Okay. Whenever in the problem you have the term greater or more than or less than or smaller, you are doing one tail test. Whenever you do one tail test more than, it is either right hand side or it is either left hand side. So whenever you do, so your rejection region is only on one side. Your rejection region is only on one side. So if your alpha is 0.01, so you put 0.01 this side. This is your rejection region. This will be 0.49. Okay. If your alpha is 0.01, this is 0.49. Okay, and so So your rejection region is only on one side. That's why it is called as one tail test. Whenever you do two tail test, your rejection region will be on two sides. So other way I can make you the one tail test or two tail test. Maybe there's a bulk manufacturing company is there. Maybe there's a bulk manufacturing company is there. Maybe there's a bulk manufacturing company is there. And maybe the bulk manufacturing company says that the average life of the bulk is 1,000 hours. So now the bulk manufacturing company is saying that their average life of the 1,000 hours. Okay, so so you need to prove that this is true or not. So here we'll do two-tail test. Why we do two-tail test? Because you have to understand, if the average life is more than 1,000 hours, then also it's not good for company. If the average hour is less than 1,000 hours, then also it's not good for the company. Imagine the bulk manufacturing company, the bulk what it manufacture, maybe the average life is less than 1,000 hours, and so all its competitor bulk is maybe around 1,000 hours, then automatically this company will lose its market significance, because the customer will not be happy with its bulk, because other bulk are staying for long time and this company bulk is not staying for long time. So automatically people will be dissatisfied with the product, and because every time the people have to buy new bulk after every thought, because the bulk will not work, so people will lose buying this bulk. Imagine the bulk average life become more than 1,000 hours, then also it's not good for the company. Then it means that once you buy the bulk, you will use that bulk for very long period of time, and then you will not come back to the shop to buy another bulk. Then automatically how the sale will happen? Think about the mobile companies. Those mobile companies who sell their product, Samsung or Apple iPhone. Every year iPhone come up with a new phone, iPhone 12, iPhone 13. Why will you buy iPhone 13 next year if iPhone 12 is already there with you and it is giving great performance, everything is great in that phone? Then if Apple will come up with a new phone, why will you buy that phone? I hope you're understanding. And imagine if you buy the phone and maybe that phone does not work not more than 2 months, then will you buy the phone next time? No. So in both the case, you will not buy. Imagine if the product is too good, also is a problem. If the product is not at all good, then also there is a problem. So I hope you're understanding. In the such kind of scenario, we perform two-tail test. Okay, or no need to use this much brain. You can simply read the last line of the question. If in the last line of the question, if whatever they're asking you, in that if they're not mentioning that you have to test this as greater than or less than or something, they're just telling you to test this whether there's a significant difference or not, then it's automatically two-tail test. If they're asking you to test whether it is less than or greater than or more than, then you'll do one-tail test. I hope you're understanding. So whenever it is two-tail test, so automatically you'll have two rejection region. So whatever is alpha, so you will have alpha by 2 in both the rejection region. Okay, and then you will find the acceptance region. Remaining will be acceptance region. Always, whenever we do test of hypothesis, we cannot do the test with 100% confidence. There may be always a degree of error. So always it is done with some level of significance. 1% level of significance means, what do you mean 1% level of significance? It means that in 99 cases out of 100 case you will get true answer, or maybe in one case you get the wrong answer. That is called confidence limit. Okay, nowadays when I talk about risk, we talk in the term of standard deviation. Okay, whenever I say I use the term risk, we use the term called standard deviation. But standard deviation is based on historical data. If you go and work in some corporate, if you get a job on investment banking after your MBA or treasury department or forex department, then there when you study risk, then there you study risk in the term of value at risk. So when we talk about value at risk, if you can Google it, to read more about war. So, war. So value at risk. So what is value at risk? So value at risk is the maximum risk what you can get on your portfolio. Value at risk is the maximum risk what you can get on your portfolio at certain confidence interval for certain time period. So nowadays when we talk about risk, we don't study risk with the term of standard deviation and all. We study risk in the term of war. So you can do some research on war if you are really interested. If you want to do finance in future, if you want job in the investment banking sector, you have to read about war, what war is all about. So to understand this, because in third semester, fourth semester, again it will come back to you. So you need to understand whenever you perform a test. So we perform test at certain confidence interval. It may be true, it may not be true. So if you increase the level of significance, you're doing a test, okay, and level of significance means the rejection region, that is your level of significance. If you increase your rejection region, so automatically you will reject more and accept less, okay. And if you decrease the region, then you will accept more and reject less. So both have its own advantage and disadvantage, okay. So in exam and all, you will get two kind of question, theory question. One is type 1 error, another one is called type 2 error. One is type 1 error, another one is called type 2 error. Type 1 error means rejecting a null hypothesis, rejecting a null hypothesis when it is true. That is called as type 1 error. And type 2 error means accepting a null hypothesis, accepting a null hypothesis when it is false. It is called type 2 error. So the parameter which measures the type 1 error is alpha, and the parameter what we measure the type 2 error is beta. So in theory questions in exam and all, in your question paper you will get what is test of hypothesis, what is type 1 error, what is type 2 error. I'll give you theory notes for all this, so you can keep this in your mind. And all the theory notes will be given to you. Don't worry on that. Write a short note on null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, type 1 error, type 2 error. You can see this 5 marks question came. So in exam, you can expect theory questions on test of hypothesis. Okay, so with this all will be given to you, notes and all. You don't have to worry about anything. So whatever is given, only thing you hard work to memorize whatever I give you. You just need to read it. That much if you do, your work will be done. So you can see this null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, type 1 error, type 2 error, confidence limit, one tail test, two tail test. All this I have explained you. What is one tail test? What is two tail test? What is type 1 error? Type 2 error, confidence limit, null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. Ask me if anyone have any doubt. So I believe you understood this. One tail test can be, you can understand in that bulb example what I've given, that maybe the company is saying that the average life of the bulb is maybe 1,000 hour, and when suppose I am a customer, so when I went to buy the bulb, what I'm expecting, I don't want the bulb life to be less than 1,000 hour. Okay, so if the bulb life is more than 1,000 hour, I'm more than happy. Don't need to complain, or I don't need to run away from this product. I'll be more than happy. What I'm just worried about, that the life of the bulb should not be less than 1,000 hour. Okay, that is what we're expecting. So this is the example of one tail test. Okay, this is less than one tail test we say. So whatever is alpha is given, so whatever the alpha is given to us, so we will not have a two rejection region. We'll have only one rejection region. So I'll draw a normal distribution curve here. I'll draw a normal distribution curve here. So I'll draw the normal distribution curve here. Where your average value is 1000, and above this is more than 1000, and this is less than 1000. So what I want, I don't want less than I what I want, I don't want the value less than 1000, right? So that's it. So on that basis, I'll perform my test. So whenever we do test, we here this is I have only one rejection region. Suppose this is alpha, so my acceptance region will be zero point 0.5 minus alpha. So I hope you are understanding this. So you need to understand whenever you are performing a test, you need to understand that are you able to do one tail test or you are able to do two tail test. Whenever I talk about ANOVA or chi-square, whenever I'm discussing about ANOVA and chi-square, so ANOVA was all about proving or disproving the relationship of of mean or average data of more than two set of data. So that was what we are doing in ANOVA, right? If you remember, in null hypothesis, we used to say mu1 equal to mu2 equal to mu3 equal to mu4. All the averages, we used to tell them equal. In alternative hypothesis, we used to say that at least two of them are not equal. Same thing we should do in the case of chi-square test, and there we used to do in the term of proportion. So here, if you understand both ANOVA chi-square test, they are basically two-tailed test only. So you in ANOVA chi-square, you don't have to think about they are two-tailed or one-tailed. Here, whenever I'm talking about Z test or T test, here I need to read the problem. I need to read the last line of the problem to understand that is it a one tail test or is it a two tail test. That research I have to do from my end to prove or disprove this. Prove or disprove this, that research I have to do from my end. Okay, so the now you will be get confused that when I'm doing the test of hypothesis, now I believe you have understood one tail test and two tail test. Next thing you need to understand that whenever we are doing test, so we will either talk in the term of Z test or either we talk in the term of T test. Okay, so remember always, if you see any problem on proportion, if you see any problem on proportion, that is always a Z test. Okay, so you don't need to worry about if the proportion data is given, then do I need to perform Z or T? You need to clear on that part. Okay, it is always a Z test only whenever we work on proportion. Next thing, whenever we work on mean, so test of hypothesis is either done on mean or it is either done on proportion. So when you do on mean, then there's a possibility that you may get confused whenever there's a problem on mean. So whenever there's a problem on mean, and if you are getting confused, if you are getting confused with that contest, uh, if you are getting confused with that contest, then what probably you can do, what probably you can do whenever you are working on mean, then you need to understand that if the population standard deviation is unknown in the data, what the question what is given, if the population standard deviation is unknown, if the population standard deviation is unknown, if you see the population standard deviation in the problem is not given, and you see that the number of data is less than 30. Okay, the data is less than 30. If your data is number of data is less than 30, then we do t-test on that. Then we do t-test on that. Okay, otherwise we do z-test. Always remember. So otherwise we do always Z test only. In Z test, we in exam you get a different table for Z test, for T test. When you read the question, you need to understand, you need to see the value of n. N is the total number of data what is given. If you feel that the number of data what is given is less than 30, and if you realize that the population standard deviation is not given to you in the problem, then we go with t-test. Then we go with t-test. Like, I'll show you the problem of t-test. You can see this t-test problem. So here the given a sample mean of 83. So the sample mean is 83. The sample standard deviation is 12.5. You can see the term called sample standard deviation. Population standard deviation is not given to you, and the sample size is 22. You can see n is less than 30 here. Okay, you can see that n is less than 30 here. So test the hypothesis that the value of population mean. So here you write h naught is equal to mu is equal to 70 in h1. That is your alternative hypothesis. You need to write what you write against the alternative, that it is more than 70. More than, greater than, less than, smaller, all that means one tail test. So h1 what you write, mu is greater than 70. So it means it is greater than, it is greater than one tail test. It is greater than one tail test. That's it. Greater than or more than or increase, decrease, then it is one tail test. Okay. And you have to do with left, you have to use a significance level called 2.5%. Here the x bar means, so this mu here basically means population mean. Mu is here basically means population mean. X bar, if I use a term called x bar here means the sample mean. Sigma is the standard deviation. The standard deviation. Okay. So there's one more term called standard error. There's a stand or sample error, standard error, or you can use the term called sample error. You can use the term called sample error. So sample error is sigma by root n. Okay, so sigma by root n. So sigma by root n. N is given to you. So this, then we perform that test. So I hope you are understanding. So this is t-test. You can see this question. Next question: Picosoft Limited, the supplier of the operating system software for personal computer, was planning the IPO of its stock in order to raise the sufficient working capital to finance the development of a radically new seventh generation integrated system with the current earning of $1.61 per share. The current earning is $1.61 per share. Picosoft and the underwriter are contemplating an offering price of $21 or 13 times his earning. 30 earning spelling is wrong. 13 times his earning. You can see there. In order to check the appropriateness of this price, they randomly choose 7 publicly traded companies. So N is 7 here, and found the average P ratio. So the sample data. So the average P ratio is 11.6. Okay, and the population mean was almost 13. You can see it is given. Okay, uh, so and sample standard deviation. You can see the sample standard deviation. Population standard deviation is not given. So n should be less than 30 and population standard deviation is not given. So you need to understand. Then it is a problem of t-test. So then you have to use alpha level of significance at 2%, and with that you need to conclude that is the average P of the firm is different from 13. So when you write H naught, in null hypothesis, when you write mu is equal to 13. In an alternative hypothesis, you say mu is not equal to 30. This is two-tailed test. I hope you understand it. So I give you enough example to understand when it is one-tailed test or two-tailed test. I don't think you should have any doubt by this time to understand while solving the problem. Is it a one-tailed test or is it a two-tailed test? So you should be clear with this part. So it is one tail test or two tail test. That part should be clear to you. Whenever we work on t-test, we find the degree of freedom. And whenever we work on t-test, we find degree of freedom, where degree of freedom is nothing but it is n minus 1. So whatever n is given, n minus 1 will be our degree of freedom. While working on z test, we don't have to find a degree of freedom. Clear everyone? So depend we'll have a separate session on all these topics where individually we discuss these things, these terms. By this time, if you have anyone have any doubt, you can ask me. Anyone, any doubt? So we'll do separate session to make you understand them. So numericals or T test, Z test, we'll do that. We'll discuss the problem of one mean Z test problem. We'll do two mean Z test problem. We'll do one mean problem. We'll do two mean T test problem. We'll do one proportion Z test problem. We'll do two proportion Z test problem. So a lot of concepts need to be discussed and forth in the upcoming session. So be with me and enjoy our journey of statistics. Anyone have any doubt, any question you want to ask for me? Anyone, any question you want before I wind up the class? So I believe you have understood what all I have discussed in this class. In this class, basically, we have started our discussion talking about chi-square test. Already we have done enough problems on chi-square test. We quickly did the revision for what we have learned with respect to the chi-square test. And then I gave you a brief idea about test of hypothesis, where in upcoming sessions we'll do numericals based on Z and T test, and that will give us a foundation stone to practically understand the test of hypothesis. Till now, we have done problems on ANOVA, chi-square. So those were advanced concepts based on more than two mean or more than two proportion analysis. Whenever we are concerned with test of hypothesis, right now we will through micro level and we'll do elementary problems based on test of hypothesis where we may have a number of data less than 3. So till now we talked about such kind of scenario when we have number of data more than 2, either based on mean or either based on proportion. So when we talked about number of data more than 2 on the basis of mean, we did ANOVA, and when we discuss about the number of data more than 2 and we worked on proportion, then we talked in the term of chi-square test. Now we're going to discuss probably the scenario where we'll do one mean or two mean problem based on mean and proportion, where we'll try to understand Z test and T test problem in henceforth in the session. Anyone, any doubt, any question before I wind up the class? I believe you have understood what all I have done for this class. So believing that you have understood what all I did, I am going to wind up the class. Thank you everyone. See you all in next class.